Good morning. We got lots of Deuteronomy to cover today, including yesterday's and today's. So we're looking Deuteronomy 20 through 25. And chapter 20 deals mainly with going to war against the enemy. And it's, more or less holy wars. These are the wars that God has said that he will lead his people into as they conquer the land that God has given to them. It says, when you go out against your enemies and see horses and chariots, an army larger than yours, you shall not be afraid of them, because the Lord your God is with you. And before you engage in battle, the priest shall come forward and speak to the troops, and he will say, here, so they're sending the troops off to war with a prayer. And I think that an awful lot of our commanders and in the Army, Navy, Marines, in our armed forces probably most likely do the same thing. And I'm sure that the soldiers that are anywhere in the battle lines are praying for safety and for God's leadership and guidance. And it's just a reminder that, for the Israelites, that, God has promised to them and God will be faithful to them. And so the chapter 20 deals basically with the holy wars, with the conquest of the lands that were given. And, like verse 19, if you besiege a land for a long time, making war against it, you may not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. These trees that bear fruit, the trees that, like apple trees, oranges, pears, whatever. But if there's something that grows on these trees that is available for food, you don't cut those down. But, a different tree you could cut down to use for a battle ram or different things. So, God has specific rules for them to follow. And just part of it is to show them his leadership, but part of that also is to test their faithfulness and how they listen. And you know as well as I do that we aren't always good listeners. Chapter 21 and 22 and deal with a lot of miscellaneous laws. About if there's a body found out in the land someplace. Well, you figure out which town it's closer to, and then it's that town's responsibility. And just a lot of miscellaneous things. And like verse 22 is something that we hear a reminder of during the crucifixion of Jesus, as they want to take Jesus' body off the cross. Verse 22, when someone is convicted of a crime punishable by death and is executed, you hang him by a tree. His corpse must not remain all night upon the tree. You shall bury him on the same day, for anyone hung on a cross is under a curse from God. And so this is, part of, for Jesus to die on the cross was the worst death. It was the death of a curse. And Joseph of Arimathea and those that came to take Jesus' body down, before the beginning of the Sabbath, did so because of this law way back here in Deuteronomy, and then chapter 22 starts again, more miscellaneous laws. If you see your neighbor's ox or an animal wandering away, don't just let it wander, and don't take it for yourself, but get it back to your neighbor, even if you don't like the neighbor, and you watch out, take care of the neighbor's donkey and his garments. And verse 5, a woman shall not wear a man's apparel, nor shall a man put on a woman's garment. Well, we've kind of, I guess women's jeans are made for women. We kind of, some of those laws are, a little bit outdated. But yet, I remember that, girls had to wear dresses to school and different things that way when I was growing up. So our acceptability of things has changed today as well, and so much for the better. I don't really think too much of some of the customs and different things, but that's beside the point. And just different. You shall not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together. Well, we read that back in Leviticus or somewhere else. We've read that, and so some of these are just reminders. And And then there's things concerning women and love and it talks about a man having two wives, and if he likes one better than the other, and I would say, of course, that's going to happen. But it's, if the woman that the man likes the least, or the lesser, maybe, has the firstborn son, that firstborn son is the heir. It isn't the firstborn son of the one he likes better. And we can look at, Jacob, with Rachel, and, the different examples we have in the Bible, that of these things as well that way. And so, and here, if the father of a young woman shall say, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. And now he's made up charges against her of, false charges and stuff. So there are ways of handling disputes and those things. And laws concerning, a reminder of the laws concerning sexual relations and if men are fighting and different things that way that that God is just reminding the people of this new generation again, it's just a reminder for us that we need to teach our children the laws. We need to teach them to respect God, to respect the laws, to respect others. It isn't just, the world is all for me. We can't let them believe that. And then, then in chapter 23, God gets into relationships with some of the other people. You shall not abhor any of the Edomites, for they are your kin. You shall not abhor the Egyptians, even though you were slaves there. They are welcome to do different. There are some nations of people that aren't, like the Ammonites that Balaam and Barak, Barak tried to get Balaam to curse the Israelites. And so those people, that tribe, nope, they're not, you don't do anything with them. They are an aberration to you. And and then there's things about becoming unclean and different things that way. And then also it gets into, like verse 24, if you go into your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat some of the fruit, for sustenance, but you can't put it in your pockets to take along with you. And it's the same as in the standing grain. If you can take a little bit of the standing grain to make into flour to have a piece of loaf of bread, but you can't take the sickle out there and harvest it for sale or to store it up for later on. It's some of those being respectful of what's the neighbor's, but also knowing that, it was legal, to have sustenance, to be able to have enough to live by. And in chapter 24, different verses of the Bible read kind of verse 5. When a man is newly married, he shall not go out with the army, and he shall be free at home for 1 year. And this version I'm reading here says to be happy with the wife whom he married. The New International Version says to keep his wife happy. And I'm sure Cheryl's chuckling right now because our joke is that, a little after 8, she says, well, don't you have something out in your wood shop to do, and, it's, but she's always happy, I hope, to see me come back in the house again. But, this law is so that, a newly married couple has a chance to get to know each other and to spend this time together without, this young man going off to war. And, the people that, are just newly deployed. In today's world, our soldiers get deployed and, kind of sometimes at a moment's notice, whether they're newly married or not, and different things. And here, it's about if you're caught kidnapping another Israelite, enslaving them or selling them, you shall, purge this evil one from your midst. And then to watch out for leprous outbreaks. So if someone gets leprosy, make sure that they spend their time out of the camp to be safe and everything that way. And then we get into chapter 25, and here again is something that we're going to relate forward to Jesus. Verse 3 of chapter 25, 40 lashes may be given, but not more. If more lashes are given, your neighbor may be degraded in your sight, but also 40 lashes was nearly the, the breaking point, the killing point. I mean, that was, if it was more than that, very often, the person may not be able to endure it. And I can't imagine even 40 lashes. I can't imagine one lash, and the pain and the anguish that it would cause. But, so here, there's a limit to the punishment that you can give, other than, before the death penalty. If they're guilty of more than that, of, the more than the 40 lashes, then, possibly it would be the death penalty would be what would be the next thing that way. And then, again, working with various kinds of commands in verse 13, you shall not have in your bag two kinds of weights, a short weight and a long weight. Have one weight, have one measure. Don't have one that measures just a little bit less than a cup and a little bit more than a cup, but have honest measures, give honest weights and honest trades. And out here in the farming country, we know and we hear of elevator managers, and I don't know if it's quite so easy for them to do that anymore today, of laying something on the scale or taking something off the scale to short a farmer or to give a farmer a little bit more. Not too many of them ever gave any extra, but is, again, to be honest in your dealings, in all things. And it says, for those who do such things and act dishonestly are an aberration to God. God doesn't approve of taking advantage of someone else. And so it's just so many reminders for this new generation, of the laws of God, of the way they are to interact with each other, and reminders to us as well, to treat other people fairly, treat other people as we would want to be treated, and to honor the sanctity of marriage, and just so many things that make life much more pleasant for us each and every day. May God richly bless you today again, as he always does.